That spider must have been nothing much, even with that big body and all. Well, if a rank D and a rank E managed to kill it, then Wang Hyung, what should we do now? Wang Dongseok scratched his chin while gazing at Jin Woo and Yu Jin Ho. With the spider dead, the gate would soon close. It'd be too late to start mining the mana stones now. They hadn't even finished getting ready, yet the remaining time was now less than an hour. It was time for the plan B, so he loudly called out to Yu Jin Ho. Yu Jin Ho. Yu Jin Ho flinched and took a step back. His face was full of nervous tension. An oily smile floated up on Wang Dongseok's face. I thought your gear looked real eye-catching, so we did a background check on you, and it turns out that you're a son of a real big shot. The son of the Yujin Constructions owner, Yu Myung Han, no less. So what? We'll give you a chance. I've got some stuff to discuss with your old man, you see. However, it'd get real troublesome for us if the matters of this place get out. So, if you wish to live, you better become our accomplice. An accomplice? Wang Dongseok pointed at Jin Woo with his chin. Being on the receiving end of that disgusting stare, Jin Woo's forehead creased for a second. Kill Xiang Jin Woo. What? Yu Jin Ho freaked out, and Wang Dongseok chuckled as if he found that expression rather funny. The thing was, he used his phone to do an online search and found out that Yu Jin Ho's father was the owner of the top construction company in the country. Seeing that, a sinister scheme formed in his head. He'd filmed the scene of Yu Jin Ho killing Xiang Jin Woo and then, under the pretext of keeping his mouth shut, blackmail Yu Myung Han. The known wealth of Yu Myung Han is supposedly around 10 trillion won, wasn't it? He might be able to reel in several times more money than mining these mana stones if he played his cards right. That's the only way you'll leave this place alive. As long as you kill Xiang Jin Woo with your own hands, we'll let you live. If not, we kill both of you. Wang Dongseok's eyes became very hostile right away. What are you hesitating for? No one will know what happens inside a dungeon. Anyway, wait, could it be that you're scared of a ranking? Even though you're a rank D. Yu Jin Ho turned his head to his side. Jin Woo shrugged his shoulders as his answer. He was implying that Yu Jin Ho should do whatever he felt like. With a determined expression, Yu Jin Ho unsheathed the sword on his hips. Finally, he made up his mind. A smile formed on Wang Dongseok's mouth. Unfortunately for him, his expectation was not met. Still holding that sword, Yu Jin Ho stood alongside Jin Woo. Hello, so, you want to team up with that guy and fight us, is that right? Wang Dongseok muttered softly. For now, take care of Xiang Jin Woo first. We gotta hold on to that potential money back. Our losses today are pretty substantial after all. Okay, will do. Jogai Hwan's hands began emitting bright light next. Seeing this, Jin Woo's eyes narrowed to a slit. In the end, they want to have a go. This would be his very first time fighting against other hunters. However, he wasn't planning to go easy on these beastards that have aimed for his life several times already. But then, this happened. There was that mechanical beep again. An emergency quest. Jin Woo raised his head. He didn't even say anything about wanting to look at the contents, yet the quest window spread out before his eyes without his consent. There are life forms holding murderous intentions towards the player. Kill them all in order to secure your own safety. If you do not follow this instruction, a corresponding penalty will be given. The number of enemies left to kill, 8. The number of killed enemies, 0. Jin Woo's eyes opened wider. In order to complete the quest, Wang Dongseok and his teammates must all die. It was then, a beam of light flashed right before his eyes. The light beams left Jogai Hwan's hands and flew straight at Jin Woo. Boom. Flung away by the explosion. Jin Woo's figure flew at a frightening speed and slammed into the cave wall. Slam. A portion of the wall collapsed and fell on top of Jin Woo. Yu Jin Ho froze on the spot from surprise. Don't sweat over the dead guy, and why don't you come over here? You murderers. Tears pooled around Yu Jin Ho's eyes. Wang Dongseok and his Dongsing simply giggled at the label of murderers thrown at their way. Well, that was the truth to begin with anyway. Just how many died by their hands inside many other dungeons? While they were looking at Yu Jin Ho and continued to smile, Jin Woo was under the pile of rubble, doubting his own eyes at the moment. The contents of the quest were slowly changing. That was why. There are life forms holding murderous intentions towards you. Kill them all in order to secure your own safety. If you do not follow this instruction, your heart will cease functioning. The number of enemies left to kill, 8. The number of killed enemies, 0. What a clear-cut threat that was. If he didn't finish the quest as intended, it would kill him instead. Kill if I don't want to be killed, is that it? The contents were pretty shocking, but Jin Woo's fluster didn't remain for long. No, his flustered mind rapidly morphed into one of relief. Even he found it hard to believe, but that was the truth. There was this fear that always lingered in his mind, starting from the day these quests popped up in front of his eyes alongside stat values and such. What would happen to me if this mysterious phenomenon suddenly stopped? What if all these things only happened as a coincidence, and they could end at any given moment? Such fear always accompanied him. However, through this emergency quest, the truth became clear. Things happening to him were not a coincidence, nor were they some weird goodwill from someone. If the quest was generated by something holding some form of goodwill, then it should have just said overcome this danger, and not threaten him to kill him as a penalty. The system had a clear purpose. The system is using me, and I'm using the system. That was all there was to it. Intense malice filled up Jin Woo's eyes. He began walking towards Hwang Dong-seok. What's going on here? He's still alive. What an embarrassment this is. He's a measly ranky, you know. Hey, Jiu Hwan, why didn't you finish him properly the first time? Jiu Hwan's face reddened somewhat. Yeah, I should've. But this wasn't right. He really did pour his all with that shot. He had spent over a third of his overall magical energy, yet how could this kid stand back up? Since you're playing around with people's lives. Jin Woo spoke with a dry voice. You've all sufficiently resolved yourselves, right? Hwang Dong-seok let off a snort after hearing that. What the hell is this fool even saying? Hyungnim, let me handle this kid. A hunter with tiny little eyes approached Jin Woo and placed his arms around the latter's neck. It looks like you mister hasn't really figured the situation out yet. But the thing is, the expression of the tiny eyes became weirder and weirder as he strengthened his arms. What the hell? Why can't I pull him down? He tried to perform a headlock with his physical strength, but no matter how hard he pulled, Jin Woo's upper body showed no sign of budging. It happened then. Slice. The head of the tiny eyes fell to the ground. Thud. That knife, just when did he? Where did he get that? Hwang Dong-seok and his goons quickly took several steps back and yanked their weapons out. Jin Woo's hand was already holding the poison fang of Kasaka. Blood dripped from the tip of the blade. With the eyes of a predator sizing up prey, Jin Woo moved his gaze from one hunter to the next. Hwang Dong-seok gulped. The fact that a dagger had appeared out of nowhere in his hand was surprising, but what shocked him even more was Park Juntae's death. How did an E rank kill a D rank in one hit? Regardless of what trick he used, he could no longer be underestimated. They had to become focused. Hwang Dong-seok cast a glance to his side. Give him another one. Jo Ji-won nodded. He would not make the same mistake. The determined hands once more gathered light in them. But before he could fire the arrow of light, Jin Woo appeared before Jo Ji-won. Huh? Jo Ji-won's mouth opened wide in surprise. Jin Woo's eyes were fierce. First, the mage-class hunter with strong firepower but weak constitution. He had already made all the calculations. The dagger embedded into Jo Ji-won's neck. The man's death signaled the start of the fight. All the hunters came at Jin Woo. Jin Woo sharpened his nerves and focused on each of their movements. Sound disappeared, and time slowed down. The power of the agility stat, raised to 38 points, began to show off. He blocked and dodged the torrent of swords, spears, and arrows that were coming at him. The hunter's eyes widened. How is an E-ranker moving like this? He's too fast. I can't hit him. Their faces became pale. Speed was relative. To their eyes, Jin Woo's movements were terrifyingly swift. Jin Woo weaved between the hunters, stabbing them one by one. Paralysis has been inflicted. Bleeding has been inflicted. Paralysis has been inflicted. Kasaka's poison fang inflicted its debuffs left and right, throwing the hunters into chaos. I can't move my body. Magic? Is this magic? This son of a bitch. Bleeding has been inflicted. Paralysis has been inflicted. All around the room, the hunters' screams spilled forth. 5 of the surrounding enemies had already fallen. Jin Woo faced the last man remaining. The hairy man with a large physique, Hwang Dong-seok. With a determined face, he threw aside his shield and gathered his energy. He kicked the ground and charged. Boom, 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 boom. As he ran, he thought to himself. He was a tanker who shone in the upper echelon of C-rankers. His movements were fast, but there was no way that he would have the power to go through his body, reinforced with the strength and skill. You cannot give me a mortal wound with a mere dagger. The one who would be destroyed in their clash will be Sung Jin Woo. He tackled with his shoulder as the distance closed. The room suddenly spun around him, and the dungeon's ceiling appeared before his eyes. Slam! His head shook and he felt a great pain on his neck and back. He tried to rise, but his body did not listen. The struggling Hwang Dong-seok sprawled on the ground. Cough. Blood came out of his mouth. Did he just throw me? He, Wang Dongxiok, just lost in power. In a contest of strength, a mere E-rank trash like you. He realized his mistake. There was no way Jinwoo was an E-ranker. Jinwoo stood next to Wang Dongxiok. Wait. Wang Dongxiok raised a feeble hand. Please, let me live. If you want money, I'll give you money. Plenty of it, just let me live. 3 times. Jinwoo replied with ice in his voice. Aren't you embarrassed to ask someone you tried to kill 3 times for mercy? 1. Through blocking the entrance. 2. Through ordering Yu Jinho. 3. Through Zhou Juwan's magic. Wang Dongxiok had made 3 attempts on Jinwoo's life, discounting the fight just now. Give and take. After returning alive from the temple, Jinwoo had made this creed. To give as much was given, and to take as much was taken. Whether it was good or bad, there would be no compromise. Realizing he could not beg for mercy, Wang Dongxiok opened his eyes wide and foamed at the mouth. You think you'll just get away with this? Do you know who my little brother? Snap. Wang Dongxiok could not continue with his crushed neck. His eyes rolled back to reveal their whites. The quest was finally over. Phew. Jinwoo's lengthy sigh carried many meanings. He took his hand off Wang Dongxiok's throat and looked at it. Although it was a one-sided battle, his hands were shaking at the fact that he had just taken 8 lives. Is this really okay? He placed the hand on his chest and felt his heart. Ba-dum ba-dum ba-dum. It was beating normally. I wonder, from the day that he had returned from the underground temple, perhaps the system wasn't the only change within Jinwoo. But his worries were brief, interrupted by the familiar electronic tone. You've completed the emergency quest. Deal with the enemies. The reward for completing the quest has arrived. Would you like to verify? He had expected this. Without delay, he confirmed the rewards. Verify. You've received the below rewards. Reward 1. Status Recovery. Reward 2. Stat points plus 10. Reward 3. Skill Bloodlust 10 stat points and even a new skill. Bloodlust active skill. Mana cost 100. Activate to inflict fear on a target for 1 minute. Multiple targets can be selected. Fear. All stats minus 50%. You emit a murderous intent. Although temporary, it had a very desirable power to lower every attribute of a target. 3 days passed by since the incident of the C-ranked gate. Jinna came home early from school as it was Saturday. As soon as entering the apartment, she began sniffing the air and hurriedly removed her shoes. Appa, what's going on here? Did you order fried chicken? Yeah, I ordered some takeaway to make sure it'd get here just in time for you. Wow, really? Jinwoo beckoned her while sitting by the dining table, causing Jinna's eyes to open wider. She immediately ran towards him, asking me if there was anything good happening lately. Of course, there was. The family's bank balance had swelled up from 800,000 won all the way to 180,300,000 earlier today. Just under $160,000. 180 million was from the sale of the magic crystals, and 500 grand was used for the month's rent. Still, 180 million. Just one raid and he was able to get his hands on an absurd amount of money, totaling 180 million. He had been one for a while now, but this was the first time he felt like a real hunter. Well, this was the era where a casual mention of hunters instantly brought up the images of wealth, so that couldn't be helped. Just as Jinna had implied with her question, the chicken and beer meal was to celebrate the big earnings sitting pretty in the family bank account right at this moment. Thank you for this meal. Jinna sneakily reached towards the beer can. But then, Jinwoo's finger powerfully flicked her forehead. Ouch, for you, this. He then placed a can of cola in front of her. I was only joking, you know. Not minding Jinna and her hands busy rubbing her reddened forehead, Jinwoo popped the lid open on the refreshingly cold can of beer and poured the contents down his throat. But then, this happened. Jinwoo couldn't help but react nervously when he heard the familiar beep. Why, a system message, all of a sudden. You detoxed harmful substances. Are you talking about alcohol? Jinwoo drank up the remaining beer in the can and popped open another just to make sure. Gulp, gulp, and the exact same messages appeared again. He had drank up 2 cans of beer in one go, but he couldn't feel one hint of drunkenness come over. Whatever this buff thing was, it was definitely working as intended. In that case, there could only be 2 possibilities. Either he received the buff while he was unconscious, or got it before the system was active. Personally, he was more inclined towards the latter. Appa, what's wrong? Is it indigestion? You should have been more careful, you know. When Jinwoo's expression became serious, Jinna asked him with a worried voice. No, it's just that I remembered something pretty urgent, that's all. Eat without me while I take care of this, okay? Jinwoo headed back into his room. He then began rummaging through every nook and cranny of his memories, trying to figure out if he had missed anything, even if it was small. Suddenly, he recalled something. Every quest has rewards, even penalty quests. But there was one quest that I never got around to confirming the rewards. No. Jinwoo hurriedly opened the mailbox. At the time, he had no clue what the system was nor what rewards could mean, so glossed over them. But he definitely remembered reading the message that said he had met the conditions to clear the quest. The voice he heard back inside the underground temple clearly said these words. A secret quest or not, it was still a quest, wasn't it? However, he hadn't checked what kind of rewards he had received until now. The blessings from the Grand Sorcerer, Kandairu. The Grand Sorcerer Kandairu has been deeply moved by your courage, and has gifted you with a special spell. When accompanied by the blessings of Kandairu, you'll get to enjoy a healthy and fulfilling life every day. One-time effect will to recover all your damaged body parts will be recovered to their original state. Continuous effect good health and long life, you'll be immune to all types of diseases, poisonous substances, as well as all forms of status debuffs. During sleep, your recovery rate will increase exponentially. Only now puzzle pieces fell to their places. That's why my leg was. It was all due to the quest reward that his sliced off leg had reverted back to how it was before. Same thing for why he couldn't get drunk from a couple of cans of beer. Hang on, I'm immune to all types of poison, too. Jinwoo's eyes abruptly shot open real wide. If that was the case, then could it be? Jinwoo hurriedly extracted a certain item out from his inventory. Rarity A. Type Medicine. A pouch containing the refined poison of the Kasaka. Can be found very rarely when hunting Kasakas. Drinking this poison will give you strong skin, but the toxicity will permanently damage your muscles. Affect the iron scales of Kasaka, 20% reduction in physical damage. Side effect damaged muscles, strength -35. My muscles are supposed to get damaged because of the toxin, but wouldn't this detox buff resist that? There was only one way to find out. Jinwoo squeezed his eyes shut and drank the liquid contained within the pouch. Gulp, gulp. Sticky, yucky liquid slid down his throat. The taste was oily and terrible, but he endured it. And they say what's good for you usually tastes bitter. When he finished drinking all of the poisoned liquid, messages popped up in his view. Yes, Jinwoo clenched his fists real tightly. Still, he couldn't celebrate just yet, so he quickly summoned his status window. Reduction in physical damage, 20%. As he expected, there was no decrease in his strength stat. It still remained as 53 points, and then he saw the new stat called Reduction in Physical Damage, 2. Sure, it might be limited in the category, but it still was a marvelous stat that reduced all physical damage by 20%. Just as Jinwoo began celebrating the emergence of this new stat. Papa, you know a guy called Yu Jin-ho. He's looking for you. No way, he can't be the same Yu Jin-ho. The meeting place was a franchise cafe located not too far from Jinwoo's home. Even though it was a weekday, there were quite a few people inside the cafe, perhaps because they chose to meet right after the lunch hour. Hyung-nim, over here. Yu Jin-ho greeted him rather enthusiastically. Before entering the cafe, Jinwoo focused his perception to the max, but he couldn't sense any other hunters inside the shop. At the bare minimum, this meeting wasn't for the purpose of revenge, it seemed. Jinwoo sat down on the other side of the table. Didn't think we'd meet again. There was a half-eaten ice cream on top of the table belonging to Yu Jin-ho. Yu Jin-ho spoke as he stood up. What would you like to order? Should I go and get you some coffee? No, it's fine. Why did you ask me for a meeting? Well, that. Hyung-nim. I gave this matter a lot of thought. I mean, lots and lots of thought, you know. But I think I really, seriously, must ask you. Jinwoo tilted his head. What are you talking about now? Hyung-nim, actually. Yu Jin-ho's face reddened as if he was embarrassed about something. Before he summoned up his courage and spoke up. Actually, I was thinking of forming my own tea. Jinwoo didn't even hesitate 1 second and replied, I'm not interested. Yu Jin-ho's expression became dumbfounded. Already, Hyung-nim. I don't need to hear the rest to figure it out. Jinwoo was quite decisive in saying no. Just as Jinwoo got up to leave, Yu Jin-ho hurriedly reached out and held on to him. Hyung-nim, only for 20. No, wait, please partner up with me for the next 19 times. For what? To clear dungeons. Yes, I'll definitely compensate you properly. Yu Jin-ho's voice sounded rather desperate. Jinwoo tilted his head slightly. There were 2 reasons why people became hunters. Either it was for money or for their sense of duty. But Yu Jin-ho didn't belong to either camp. Maybe it was possible that he thought of being a hunter was a slightly more dangerous form of extreme sports or some such. That was what Jinwoo had been believing until now. True, he was taken aback slightly when the kid declared that he wanted to form his own private raid team. Even after going through that ordeal the last time, There are all sorts of people in this world, that's for sure. It wouldn't be too strange to find a scion of a wealthy family who had become numb to the safe environment he had grown up in. Let's say that last time was his first raid, and when he completes 19 more raids, then, could this kid be aiming for? It didn't take long for Jin Woo to realize the truth. Are you perhaps thinking of getting the guild master license? That's correct, Hyung Nim. What a smart decision it was not to order coffee. Otherwise, he might have sprayed the bitter liquid all over the table by now while trying to drink it. You want to become a guild master? Well, the story's a bit complicated there, Hyung Nim. Jin Ho's face reddened considerably compared to before as he spoke. Hyung Nim, please listen to my story. As you've correctly guessed, I want to acquire the Guildmaster license. Acquiring that license was not that difficult, actually. You had to be a hunter who participated in at least 20 raids. As long as you met this base requirement, all you had to do was to pass a written test and you'd get the license. Of course, nobody would join the guild created by a rubbish hunter, and if a guild failed to maintain the minimum number of members, it'd be disbanded as well. Jin Ho continued on. It's not public knowledge yet, but actually, my father is trying to establish a guild of his own. A guild created by Yujin Construction. Yes, Yujin Construction was one of the biggest corporations in South Korea. It had expanded its business well beyond the fields of construction and into other sectors and had been making a killing there. Jin Woo had heard that recently. They reap huge profit after jumping into the hunter-related businesses as well, and they want to form a guild of their own. When Jin Woo displayed a hint of interest, Jin Ho became excited and added more explanations. He'd scout strong hunters and build a massive guild, and place all our hunter-related business interests under it. That's his plan. With the financial wherewithal of Yujin Construction, creating a guild wouldn't even pose a problem. No, the real issue would be with just who gets to run it. My father is thinking of hiring an S-ranked hunter as the guild master and placing my older brother as the vice master, and run the guild that way. My older brother's business experience is far too good for me to simply take over the position of the guild master. And you wish to change your father's mind by acquiring the master license? Yeah, that's right, Hyung Bin. Even if the kid hired a high-ranked hunter and acquired the license that way, it'd be no different from buying it with cash. However, what if the kid succeeded in 20 raids with low-ranked hunters, such as Jin Woo, and acquired the license that way? Jin Ho would be able to persuade his father. Simply him being able to lead a group of hunters would be enough to get his approval. That was what Jin Ho was counting on. Hyung Nim, please help me. I have no one but you, Hyung Nim. Jin Ho bowed his head. If it weren't for Jin Woo, the kid would have died during his very first raid. What would I get in return, then? Jin Ho raised his head, his expression one of joy, as he quickly produced an envelope he had prepared earlier on, and a blueprint of a building came out from there. Jin Woo took a look at it. This is the guild office building we're constructing at the moment. The expected retail price of the building is around 30 billion. But it'll definitely rise up in the future. Although the association was doing their best to manage them, there would always be that fear of monsters escaping from the dungeons. That was why the land price near the association headquarters or around large guilds always rose up higher as time went by. Well, there would be no more precious wealth than one's own life, after all. Even if it was a small guild, being near one almost guaranteed your safety. A 30 billion building. For raiding rank C gates 19 more times. Jin Woo smirked slightly. As long as you become the master, it'll all be worth it, is that right? That's correct, Hyung Nim. Jin Woo was in a serious dilemma. 30 billion won. That was a huge amount of money. If one considered the fact that the winning prize of the local lottery was 1.5 billion won. He'd have to get lucky 20 times in a row to earn that amount. Not only that, the value of the building would only continue to rise up. However, Jin Woo was as far removed from being normal as anyone could ever hope to get. The one and only under the heavens, he was the only hunter who could grow stronger. If he continued on with quests and leveled up over and over again, he'd reach the S rank sooner or later, or even something surpassing that. If I can surpass the S rank, then 30 billion would be nothing. The contract fee for S-rank hunters went for several dozen billions already. No matter how famous a celebrity or a sports star was, they would never even come close to the worth of an S-ranked hunter. This was the era where the number of high-ranked hunters signified the strength of a nation. What Jin Woo needed to prioritize here was not money, but his growth. And in order to grow, it'd be more convenient to be alone. Yeah, it'd be better to minimize the risks of unexpected events. Hang on a sec. Suddenly, he came up with a pretty good way to catch two birds called money and growth with a single stone. if it's in this manner. When he finally raised his head, he spotted Yu Jin-ho and his nervous face. Jin-woo slowly opened his mouth. I only have one condition. Yu Jin-ho's expression brightened up instantly. Whatever it is, please tell me, Hyung-nim. I wonder, would you be able to smile even after I told you what it is? Jin-woo smiled inwardly and spoke up. You and I, only two of us will enter the dungeons. Pardon? Yu Jin-ho gasped out in pure shock. If I didn't make a mistake here, then are you saying that Hyung-nim and I, just us two, will clear C-ranked gates? Only us two. You didn't make a mistake, then? Yu Jin-ho's face was drained of all color. Hyung-nim, you need